soup kitchen. It's the soup kitchen.
Hello, my beautiful people, my kings and queens. Welcome to the Soup Kitchen. I am your host, Kibi, and I am back in action. If you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And if you know of anyone that would be interested in this type of content, share it. All right, hit that share button, hit that like button below. It's good to see y'all. In the U.S., there are a great deal of homes that are single parented. In fact, 65% of the Black community have homes that are single parented. And with that being said, that puts the Black family at a disadvantage in terms of family dynamics. I know that a lot of people will probably say, like, oh, like, how is that? How can you say that that's true? But numbers don't lie. If you have one friend that can help you or two, what's the likelihood that you will fall on your face? 1/2. So if you have two parents in a household versus one, what's the likelihood that you will fall on your face? What's the likelihood that, needs are not met? What's the likelihood that things that you want and desire are not overlooked? What's the likelihood that the parents won't be able to provide for you for Christmas? I'm not saying that it's all families, but what I am saying is that numbers don't lie. And also, when I look at different friends and family members, and I noticed how friends and family members move and shake that had both parents or have both parents are completely different than friends and family members who did not. Completely different. However, I will say that the friends and family members or just associates who had maybe one parent, they did seem to be a little bit more independent a lot sooner. Children are more relied on by that single parent. You find that the child doesn't have as great of a childhood as the other child, say for instance, said both mother and father at home, or maybe even step parent and father in that home. You notice that that child must step in as a substitute for that missing parent, and that's how a child grows up faster than they should, and that's how they're not able to enjoy that childhood. Mothers tend to be harder on their daughters, and fathers tend to be harder on their sons. But in a single parent home, the fathers are typically the ones who are absent. So let's do the math, guys. So what typically happens is that mother, she takes on the responsibility that has been transferred to her or that she's always had. And instead of splitting it up in between the two children, she take all that responsibility as a woman and transfers it to her daughter. And now the daughter is doing all the things that the mom was doing, or is capable, has been trained to do all the things that the mom is doing or was doing. Sometimes the responsibility is transferred completely. Sometimes it's interchangeable. The bigger picture is now, where does that leave the son? That leaves the son just kind of like doing what he wants to do. And that's not every household, that's not every family, but I'm noticing more recently that this is a thing. So what I'm noticing today, in today's age, is a nice portion of women who are taking pride in the do-it-all type of woman, I don't need a man type of woman. And that's scary because these women are cooking, cleaning, working, and being handy around the house. So what does that leave for, like, where does that leave room for someone else to come in and to support you? As if something of that nature is a badge of honor. Like, oh, look at me, I could do it all. Oh, watch me, I don't need you. Oh, look at what I can do without you. So we have to ask ourselves, what are our actions signaling to that man that we are interested in? That man, that ultimate guy that we want to attract, that ultimate man that we desire to have. And I experienced this a time or two. And I really had to, I had to take my time and factor out the things that were common. I said, well, this guy and that guy, they have nothing in common. This guy and that guy, they don't even know each other. I met them in two separate places. Who's the common denominator? Me. So I realized this is something, Keisha, that you're doing wrong. This is something key that you are doing wrong. You have to correct it. You have to check it, or you will find yourself in this situation many and plenty of times. I also had to decipher between if it was something that I allowed or was I being a victim of this thing that was happening to me. And I realized, how many things happen to you that you don't allow to happen to you? Now, if you're in a car accident, that's one thing. But when you're an active, willing participant, nah, boo, that's you. So I'm going to give you two examples of what that type of woman would look like in the dating scene. That woman who wants to do it all, I don't need a man type of woman. The first example would be a woman meeting a guy. They set up a date. They go out. They decide to go to a restaurant. They're at that restaurant and they eat the food. The food is amazing. They're having a great time, great conversation. Everything is just flowing perfectly. And then the bill comes and the man is like, hey, he's being a gentleman. He's like, I got that. I'll take care of that. And she's like, no. Like, I got it. You know, I'm independent. I got it. And he's like, no. I insist. And she kind of gets a little frustrated and she pulls out her card and she pays for her portion of the bill. And that's one example. And then the second example is a woman in a relationship. They've kind of made it to second, third base of getting to know each other, meeting each other's family, and now he's over to her house. And he comes over and she's cooking and she's cleaning and she makes dinner. And while she's making dinner, she's cleaning the dishes. When she's done with the dinner, she puts it on a table for him. And the kitchen is already clean. And they eat, they have a great dinner, and she goes to throw the food away, and then she realizes the trash is full. She grabs the trash, she gets to, she's about to, tie it up and take it out. And he's like, no, like, don't worry, like, I got you. I'm gonna take the trash out for you. And she's like, take my trash out, like, I got this. And he's just like, okay, well, I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, I can help. And she's like, no, like, don't worry, like, I got it, you're good. And then he's like, okay. And then after a while, he notices in that relationship that that's a common thing with her. She doesn't want help. She doesn't want him to be around. But that goes back to what I mentioned earlier in the video. That's that same young woman who was raised to carry a whole family on her own. So these are habits, ladies, that we are taking into our relationship, that we are no longer in that situation where we have to fill in for both, man and woman. Like, if we're in our home and we're by ourselves, that's understandable. But when you do have that man in your presence, allow that man to be a man. Allow that man to lead. How can you see his greatest potential, which his greatest potential is being a leader, allowing him to lead and supporting him through it? And that man is placing himself in her life and trying to see where he can fit, where he can come in and maybe bridge some things. And she's just kind of like, no, I got it. I'm good. I could do it all by myself. That man over time begins to feel unwanted, unneeded, and not useful, almost ashamed of needing someone or ashamed of asking. For a long time, it was very uncomfortable for me to ask anyone to do anything, but especially a man. And I think it's because of the examples growing up and just maybe today's society. Oh, you're strong, you got this, oh, you're good. And also maybe it's because when I would ask, it turned into a, hey, you're not responsible enough. And so it just kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. So I can definitely identify with those women who are currently struggling with that. I will say that you have to come up out of it. You have to work on yourself and know that, you know, you are a whole person. Even if you in a situation you rely on someone else, you're not depending on them fully, but it's good to have it. Both people rely on each other. Both people come to the table whole and rely on each other. And in an independent relationship, it's all about me, 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 me. I take care of me. I do for me. You do for you. You take care of you. So it's kind of like separate. That's a very uncomfortable place to be in. I've been there. She wants to lead. She wants to be doing what she's been doing all her life. She's been leading all her life. She feels powerless when she's not leading. She feels like there may be some type of program for not assuming the role of, I can do it all. I got it. I don't need you. And on the other hand, she might attract men who fit into that ideal at home life structure, who will expect for her to lead, who will or may even ask for her to lead because he's not comfortable leading. And so it puts her in a position where she's constantly playing all the roles. It's like the everything woman. She can cook, she can clean, she can fly on a broomstick. Like, geez. So that's a lot. And when that woman finds herself in that situation, it can become a bit draining. Been there. It's like right there sucking up your energy. And it just doesn't feel healthy at all. It's not a healthy environment to be in. You definitely want to stay away from that type of man. Look, if you need to get out of that, hit me up via email, okay? My email is linked below. So if you have any questions about that type of situation, please, I challenge you to reach out to me, and I would like to encourage you to hit it. And it feels so conflicting because one moment it's like, I need help. Hey, come help me. Or why didn't you help me in that situation? But then the next minute it's like, you're doing too much. Oh my goodness. So at the end of the day, it's always best to allow that man to be in his most natural state, which is leading. This message is for the feminine energy woman who sends mixed signals, or sending a masculine energy signal to a masculine energy man. That is so conflicting, y'all. He will have no shame in allowing a woman to do it all. He will suck and drain her of all her resources. He will just sit around and watch her struggle rather than offering a hand. Worst of all, he'll be in a constant state of comfort when he's doing bare minimum. I don't think any woman deserves a man like that. You to keep in mind of his upbringing, that can be a major indicator of how he will and will not treat you. Make sure you pay attention to the family dynamics that he grew up with. That can also be an indicator of how he will and will not treat you. It is not a disqualifier, but it definitely would mean that he would have to be an outlier, which isn't impossible. Not as likely as as I would like for it to be, but it definitely will mean that he is going against the grain. And it's always easier for people to go with the grain than against. Not impossible, but likely. All right, ladies, so that brings me to point number 2. Allow that man to lead and know that he's going to make mistakes. Even if you are more experienced than he is, that does not make you a better leader than him. What it does do is it should give you the insight that you need to have more patience with him, because he's obviously learning. And if he's willing to learn, that to me is more important. Just remember, ladies, when looking at the resume and the cover letter, a lot of times people are not even considered for the job when they don't have the experience. But little do they know that person who also submitted that cover letter has the morale, they have the ambition, they have the drive to learn to do those things that are required of them. So I always say the resume is good. It's a good little backup checklist. But that cover letter, it depicts character. Avoid the power struggle. The best relationships are the mutualism relationships, where both people are putting in and both people are getting something back in return. Point number 3, don't make excuses for why he think that it's okay for you to do everything. No one should ever expect or allow you to do every single thing. That's not okay. That's the user mentality. That's taking advantage of someone's kindness. Like, oh, he's tired. He's so tired, girl. He can't cook. Or, oh, girl, he's so sleepy. He can't even walk me to my car at night because he's just so tired. Or, girl, he doesn't know how to cook, so I cook every single day, like every day. And I'm so tired. I'm working. I'm doing all these things. I come home. He's here, but I'm cooking. That's because he's tired. We're overlooking the red flags. Wake up. Wake up. I have more requests than he's willing to give in terms of a mutualism relationship. That's a problem. That's a problem, and it's a flag, and it's waving. Now, I consider it red. You might consider the flag green. I say stop. You might say go. With my experience, ladies, please take heed. Stop, run the other way. Do you guys remember back in the day when you would put a tape inside of the VCR and it would read that tape and it's like, this doesn't seem like a legitimate copy. And a lot of times it would just spit it right out. You need to do that with this type of situation. You need to eject him immediately. Don't allow him to grow in your life. Don't allow him to plant seeds in your mind. All right, guys, I really appreciate you guys for being here with me today. And if you are new here, please consider subscribing to this channel. And if you know someone who could benefit from this content, don't forget to share. Don't be stingy. Share it. Discombobulated. Discombobulated. Hey, 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 hey.